have a gut feeling that I'm going to be in the group, and I think I would be a good fit for the group, and I know I would do good if I would get into the group. So yeah.
We also want to say, like, she's our sister forever.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like, we love her so much, and like we built this together.
I'm gonna be honest, I haven't even eaten a single zucchini in weeks. It's been bad. If you don't know, I talked about Katseye last year, which feels like eons ago somehow, and it was just before they released their most popular song to date, Gabriella. I've been following Katseye since they debuted in 2024. Touch was and still is absolutely a banger, as any song that emulates Pink Pantheress is, and even though the rest of their discography at that time felt pretty generic, I genuinely loved watching these girls perform and seeing them get more and more successful. Say what you will about Katseye, but they are insane performers, even when they're working with rough demos no one bought 6 years ago. They're strong vocalists, strong dancers, and after I watched the Netflix documentary Popstar Academy, I was all in with them. Seeing just the emotional and physical turmoil these young women endured just to debut with the combined toxicities of the Korean and American music industries, like you just wanted to see them succeed in spite of that. Also, them being a global girl group made them feel like something different than anything I'd seen before. These women would not have met under any other circumstance, and they came together to serve on a global scale. Their diverse cultural heritage is a huge part of their marketing. When they did a collab with Monster High, their monster designs were tied to mythical creatures from their culture. In the video rehearsing for their first and ill-fated Grammy performance, they spoke at length about how each of them represented themselves through their styling. Their collaboration with Gap, coming out so soon after Sydney Sweeney's infamous, eugenic-friendly, low-rise jean commercial, was a standout. I mean, that very Gap commercial arguably was a draw to the group on the same level as their most popular songs, which again probably speaks to the material that these girls are given to work with. They even incorporated the Gap choreography into their tour set list because, they went on tour with only like 10 official songs. Little did I know that this was the last sense of normalcy I'd get from this group, and I didn't even go to the dang tour. Beautiful Chaos, as I have back here, as well as all of their photo cards if you can barely see. Beautiful Chaos, the EP, really was true to its name because even though the songs all sounded like they came from completely different artists, the girls still managed to sell this as if this was some unified, consistent brand. And it did so well. It got into the top 10 Billboard 200. They broke the record for the largest crowd for an early set at Lollapalooza. These girls were finally getting the recognition they deserved, and I was so hopeful that the success of this EP would mean a clearer artistic visions, better songs custom to their vocal and visual styles, a full album perhaps, more input from the girls in terms of producing and songwriting, considering multiple girls have shown express interest in producing and songwriting. Yeah, none of that happened. Like at all. And more than that, I'm sure you've heard that things just went sideways in a way that I did not see coming in just their first year of mainstream success. For months, there has been this mounting weirdness underneath Katseye, and that all came to a head when Manon went on hiatus in February. I think we can all agree, having only 5 members of Katseye is devastating. Having 5 animated men compete for my attention while I am busy trying to save the world? There might be something to that. I have recently discovered the very high highs of C-dramas, and so Love in Deep Space just met me at the perfect time. Love in Deep Space is a 3D romance game that allows you to step into an interactive sci-fi world where love is right in your reach. In Love in Deep Space, you can embark on an exciting journey to explore unknown civilizations, protect humanity's hope, and yes, fight alongside 5 very available men. And right now, their most provocative and visually stunning hot spring-themed cards have arrived. You know how sometimes when you get into like a hot spring or a hot tub and it starts to feel so hot and sweaty that you might faint? This is like experiencing that, but only in a positive way. Because each hot spring effect gives exclusive storylines tied to each lead, which luckily for us, these moments help our leads confess their deepest, most intimate secrets to our main character. And inspired by each character's lore, the themes range from exotic to ancient towns to mysterious caves, all depending on the character's backstory. Trust me, it is big budget romance movie levels of yearning. And right now, you can download Love in Deep Space using the link in my bio. Thank you again to Love in Deep Space for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to it. I talked about this a few days after it happened on my side channel, but I'm telling you, there's been a new article, a new leak, a new Instagram story that was posted and deleted to decipher every single day since that happened. So I need to talk about it again. On February 20th, HG posted a statement to Katseye's Weverse community saying, after open and thoughtful conversations together, we are sharing that Manon will be taking a temporary hiatus from group activities to focus on her health and well-being. We fully support this decision. Katseye remains committed to showing up for one another and for the fans who mean everything to us. The group will continue scheduled activities during this time, and we look forward to being together again when the time is right. To anybody who follows this group closely, which I definitely do, this felt like a total surprise given that she just appeared with the group days before. That being said, for me though, I wasn't immediately panicking from this because a hiatus can mean so many things related to someone's health or a personal issue that they're having, and it doesn't necessarily have to be some weird dramatic thing, which it ended up being. Manon, in her own statement on Weverse a few hours later, wrote, "Hi friends, I want you to hear this from me. I'm healthy, I'm okay, and I'm taking care of myself. Thank you for checking in. Sometimes things unfold in ways we don't fully control, but I'm trusting the bigger picture. Thank you for standing by me. I love you endlessly and can't wait to see you again." This Weverse statement will be in an AP US History DBT question in decades to come because there is so much to unpack here in every single line. First, people pointed out the seeming contradiction between the HG statement where Manon was leaving to focus on her health and her own statement where she said that she was healthy. There are other ways to interpret that. Maybe this wasn't her intentionally contradicting HG to signal the hiatus wasn't voluntary in some way. It could have meant that her health condition just wasn't critical. Maybe the hiatus was due to a family or personal issue that she didn't feel like sharing. Cannot stress this enough. To this day, no one really knows why the hiatus is in place or who wanted it first, Manon or HG. But I think this one line in particular signaled to a lot of people that this was not just a normal hiatus. Sometimes things unfold in a way we don't fully understand. When you don't have basically any information, the only productive thing to do is panic, which the internet did in spades. I think initially part of that was hiatuses like this aren't nearly as common in Western markets as they are in the K-pop industry, which Katseye is so closely tied to. Normally, if we see a hiatus, we think of Fifth Harmony's first performance without Camila. We don't have nearly as many boy groups or girl groups, so, if an individual is sick, the whole thing gets canceled, right? But it is much more noticeable in a group of 6 when one is absent for weeks or months at a time. K-pop hiatuses are a lot more common, and there's a ton of reasons that they happen. This can be due to physical injury, mental health, pursuing education, mandatory military service. The hiatus timeline may not be defined, but there is usually some tangible reason you can point to as to why they are absent. Whether you think Katseye is K-pop or not, they follow a very similar schedule where they are constantly promoting, rehearsing, performing. It's like being an elite athlete. Injuries are inevitable, and pushing through them can lead to long-term consequences. Twice has been at this for a decade, and plenty of their members have gone on hiatus for health reasons and come back for yet another insane tour schedule. Other times in K-pop though, members have been put on temporary hiatus due to a scandal, which is the most dreaded phrase in K-pop. If there's a controversy and that controversy doesn't seem like it's going to die down in time, it makes sense that that person would be kicked out of the group to preserve the reputation of the rest of the group. Les Seraphim, for example, another HYBE girl group, originally debuted with a 6-member Garam. Garam was put on hiatus almost immediately after debuting due to allegations of bullying back from when she was in school. Les Seraphim at that time was a brand new group, so the scandal was basically all that people knew about it, and so this directly impacted their streaming numbers from the start. Within weeks, Garam's temporary hiatus became a permanent one, only for fans to later realize that 1, Garam was seemingly defending a friend who was also getting bullied at that time, so a little bit more complicated than what people originally thought, and 2, call me crazy, but maybe middle school bullying allegations aren't a career death sentence worthy, but too late, she's gone. There's this saying in K-pop, and it's the 6-member curse. No group with 6 members can keep all of them. Uh-oh. Listen, the New Jeans drama is its own can of worms, but all New Jeans members were put on hiatus awaiting a court resolution with their company, Adore. 3 members have since returned. Minji's status is still in limbo, but Danielle was released from her New Jeans contract following the hiatus. These are very recent examples with HYBE, but there are plenty of other examples where a hiatus was really just soft launching an eventual exit. Technically One Direction is still on hiatus. They'll come back any day now, I'm sure. It's also important to mention that this is not technically the first time a Katseye member has gone on hiatus. In 2024, back when the group just started, Megan missed a few appearances, and it was later officially announced that she would be leaving their Asian promotional tour and upcoming press to recover from a back injury. Because of this, she was not present at the GMA performance, which, other than their KCON debut, was their biggest Western platform to date. Mind you, these girls were doing mall tours like no other when they started. Megan eventually returned for their Halloween performance.
Megan! Megan is coming! Oh! Okay. Is this the thumbnail? Oh! She's not coming? Yeah. Megan!
But there were key differences between that hiatus and what we have here with Manon. When Megan was MIA, she was frequently mentioned by the other members. They'd carry around her photo card, walk around with a cardboard cutout of her. Even if she wasn't physically there, the members talked about her all the time as if they were sure that she was coming back, which has not been the case with Manon. Outside other publications like Nylon or Glamour magazine releasing pictures from pre-hiatus, Katseye themselves has not posted her at all. Also, in Megan's case, there was a specific reason for her absence, whereas here, fans were able to speculate any number of reasons as to why Manon was put on hiatus, and moreover, whether this hiatus was even Manon's choice in the first place. It was also incredibly unexpected. Just 3 days before her hiatus was announced, The Cut released an interview with Katseye. There's a companion video to this if you want to watch, where The Cut goes thrifting with the group in the morning. This was pre-filmed, but Manon does not join until later for the off-camera interview. Sophia, when talking about the group and how they get along, said that the main thing is making sure everyone is on board with every decision. It can't just be like 4 or 5 girls are okay with this, because the one person who isn't, it really does affect the group. Which lines up with another statement Sophia gave to Nylon around this time that said, "We've learned that if even just one person doesn't feel good about a certain thing, we need to heavily consider and communicate about it, because it's not about the majority enjoying it and just having the people who don't enjoy it adjust." At the end of the day, to this point, Katseye has always been 6 members.
At the end of the day, despite having some interviews or performances with a missing member, what's important is that at the end of the day, we're still going to be 6 as Katseye moving forward and through all of this.
Period.
And when we have these things, we make a lot of commitments to people. We make commitment to the fans to show up.
Yeah.
And so it's really important for all 6 of us to give something back to the fans, no matter what it is, just to keep showing up for them and always acknowledging the fact that we'll have somebody missing, but it doesn't change the fact that we're still 6 as Katseye. Like, it's forever going to be that way. And so every time we see somebody saying like, oh, they're 5, they're going to kick this person out, or like there's like beef, like no, like we're prioritizing, like what Daniela said, we're prioritizing our health, and if we need recovery, we're going to take that time, because we're in this, all 6 of us are in this for the long run.
Not only that, but Manon in that Cut interview specifically said that when One Direction split, that was really hard. "I don't want our fans to go through that. I don't want to be responsible for breaking so many hearts. Katseye is going to stay Katseye for a while." This quote came out 3 days before she was put on hiatus. There are also tons of other examples from live streams and meetups with fans where she would specifically talk about how excited she was for Coachella, that 2026 was going to be their year.
I looked at the schedule for next year and I was like, holy shit. We have so much coming, and I feel like 2026 is really going to be our year. Am I excited for Coachella? I'm beyond excited for Coachella. Guys, Coachella has been like a festival I've been religiously going to for a while now. The fact that I'm gonna perform there is crazy.
The designer for one of their Lollapalooza costumes included a design for Manon. When they eventually performed with just the 5 girls, the number 6 was originally on Megan's outfit, but it was inconspicuously flipped to be a number 9. Manon was in the Nylon interview, which was styled for Pinky Up. Leaked storyboards and choreography show the single released in April was planned with Manon present. In fact, we now know from the behind the scenes of Pinky Up that the Pinky Up music video was filmed just 2 days after her hiatus was announced in the first place. I think regardless of where you stand, it's evident that this hiatus was a last-minute decision, and I do think there's reason to believe that at least initially this was not Manon's idea, especially because following the hiatus announcement, Manon and her boyfriend liked posts alluding to mistreatment and racism in the music industry. Manon received support from other Black pop stars like Normani and Leanne, fellow Black girl group members, amongst many others. She unfollowed Missy, Katseye's manager, who was part of their training team and featured in the documentary that launched them. Manon's ability to speak publicly, as well as the other girls about any of this, is for sure incredibly limited, so the amount of unfollowing, following, liking, unliking the fans have tracked, truly searching for breadcrumbs. But then there are some things that are more overt, like Daniela's dad. There has been speculation brewing for months about Danny and Manon's relationship. In the Popstar Academy documentary and the Sis era, Danny and Manon were seen together constantly. In a group of 6, it's inevitable that some people are going to be closer than others, and fans love to hyper-focus on a specific friendship in groups, which I'm sure puts no pressure on these real-life relationships whatsoever. Danon as a duo had its own fandom just as much as the solo stans, and those Danon fans were very quick to notice when even the slightest thing might have been amiss. Back in July of 2025, Daniela was seen out with Nyesha, who was another trainee that didn't make it onto the Survival show, but was featured in the Netflix documentary. Nyesha was cut prior to the Survival show due to posting demos on a close friend's story. This section in the documentary is also very strange because multiple girls admit to doing the same thing, but only Nyesha ended up being released from her contract.
I'm just upset about how it ended and the reason I got eliminated. The fact that Missy said that I had more followers in the account than what I did have. It's my word against Hollywood, so I hope they bring in like 20 Black girls. At least one needs to make it.
And then she is probably most well known for a comment she made on Lara's Instagram, which people thought was a dig against Manon.
I did comment that in a picture where there is a Black girl in the middle being Black, in the middle being Black, in the center being Black in the middle. So I never in a trillion years thought that people would think that I'm just being mean.
But to clarify, that is a comment from back in 2022, so unclear how anybody feels about Nyesha and that comment today. But around that time, fans said that Manon deleted pictures with Daniela on her Instagram, which I've to this day never seen explicit proof of or been able to verify. Because if you look at Manon's Instagram today, there is a picture of her and Danny, and she just generally doesn't post pictures standing next to anybody. After that, people noticed that they sat apart more often in live streams, didn't make as much eye contact. Like, really the only suggestion that Danny and Manon aren't friends anymore is this one hangout and pure vibes, body language, expert speculation. Because on the other hand, in that recent interview with The Cut, they confirmed that Danny and Manon still live together. There are also plenty of other moments behind the scenes that show Danny and Manon still hang out and seem happy, at least in those moments. Also, at the end of the day, these girls are coworkers, right? Like, they don't have to be friends or get along all the time, but they're packaged as best friends, sisters, so fans will naturally hold them to that expectation based on that public image, which is far from the full picture of the actual relationships between these women. Danny and Manon's relationship is a brand just as much as anything else in Katseye's world, and I think that's important to remember. That's also a crazy amount of pressure to put on any friendship, particularly women this young. At the end of the day, we do not know these women, and the evidence of a public beef is vague at best. Daniela's dad, on the other hand, if you don't know, Daniela's parents were both ballroom dancers who trained her from a young age to perform at a competitive level. Since that time, Danny's dad has been at a few of Katseye's performances, but he's not seen publicly nearly as much as Danny's mom. Her parents are divorced, and unfortunately, divorced parents and Instagram comments are kind of a lethal combination, especially if your kid is famous. On a post that simply stated that Manon was going on hiatus, Danny's dad said, "Come back when you're ready to work. We need girls who can grind. Katseye is a powerhouse. The show must go on." Mind you, Manon at this point has been gone for like all of 5 minutes, and he's already getting into fights with fans online. He deactivated his Instagram shortly after, but on his Facebook, people found a post comparing Lisa from Blackpink and Daniela as dancers, where Raphael stated that Daniela is much better trained. Plus, she's Latina. Major advantage against Asian dancers. Her hips are untouchable. There are so many levels of insanity to all of this, but the fact that he managed to be racist against Lisa, all Asian people, and 4 out of 6 Katseye members, including the other main dancer of the group, Megan, was really a feat. Honestly, I feel like I know way too many people who, if they were famous, their parents would also get them in trouble because they're just unmedia trainable, you know? And I do want to emphasize that it's not necessary for like a parent to have the same views as their child. I feel like Lady Gaga is a really famous example of someone who publicly doesn't agree with her dad despite him constantly saying things on the internet. So when I saw these comments, I just felt bad for Daniela and Manon, of course. Daniela and Manon are roommates, and her dad is insulting Manon's work ethic, presumably without Daniela's permission. Like 3 days prior, Raphael responded to the Cut article where Manon specifically talked about how the lazy label directed at her is unfair, and he said, "People need to support, not judge. Embrace and unite the group, or get out of the fan base." You know, in a sense, he did unite the fan base, just maybe not in the way he originally intended. I don't know how much this man actually knew about the reasons behind her hiatus, and it's a weird position because on one hand, maybe Daniela did at one point vent or explain the situation to her dad, but that doesn't make Daniela inherently the problem or a bad person for talking about her coworker or a roommate with the assumption that her parent wouldn't blast that on Instagram. This just seems like a situation where someone went on the defensive with no information and just no thought whatsoever. Either way, I doubt Daniela would have wanted him to comment stuff like this on her behalf. It puts everyone, including her, in a terrible position. And immediately Danny's comment section was flooded with people asking her to respond as if these were her words herself. And that is her actual real life dad and her actual real life coworker, roommate, and as far as we know, her friend. Like, it is a lose-lose situation. More importantly, it's terrible for Manon to see these comments from someone, not only random people on the internet, but someone who met her several times, who is a parent of her coworker. And this all happening again within minutes of her hiatus even being announced. If her hiatus was because of interpersonal issues between Manon and any of the other members, comments like this just do the opposite of resolving that. Same with the comments that attack Sophia, Lara, Megan, saying that Manon is the only good thing about this group or that Manon never deserved to be in the group in the first place. Even if Manon were to come back, that's got to be the most awkward conversation in the world when even before all of this happened, there has always been intense solo fan discourse that picked apart the members that they didn't like and were overly defensive of the others. And that's not to say that Manon fans have no reason to be defensive of her, because they absolutely do. From the beginning, people have felt that HG hasn't protected Manon, so the fans feel obligated to do that on her behalf. I talked at length in my original video about Manon's depiction in the documentary. Manon's storyline on the show was that she was not committed enough because she missed practices, and this caused discontent with the other girls in the survival show. It was never said in the documentary these words, but this led to the lazy label that has followed Manon to this day, 4 years after that documentary footage was originally filmed. More importantly, this is in spite of that same documentary showing that Manon missed rehearsals when she was sick with COVID, and later not only squashed the issues with the girls, but was fully present at each mission in the show. She delivered more than what was expected of her, and did incredibly well. In one sense, the other survival show contestants had a right to be frustrated. Blocking dance sequences can be difficult if someone isn't present. But in the bigger picture, these girls were told from the beginning that whoever worked the hardest and showed up for the most extra rehearsals, came in early, stayed late, those were the people who would be recognized and who would make it into this group. Not only was Manon scouted, but she was the kind of person who could ace a test without studying, and she didn't break herself to the point of permanent injury to get where she needed to be. Of course, when you see something like that, you're going to have a reaction to it, even if that's not Manon's fault. The larger issue was never her, but the company that openly treated the girls differently and actively lied about how they would make the group. This show was also, of course, edited for drama, and all of the girls have since said that the resentment between them was a much bigger deal on screen than in real life. They were young people in a high-stress environment who didn't say or do the right thing all the time, but that was then. And it's very evident watching Manon's recent performances versus her on the survival show just how much she has improved and how much she does belong in the group. And she was already good to begin with. The idea of anyone being lazy and being a member of Katseye is just such an oxymoron, because you simply cannot be lazy when you're nonstop rehearsing, promoting, and touring. Like, that's just not what that word means. And missing a few performances That's also not what that word means. It depicted her as someone who didn't try as hard in a world where people don't take the time for nuance, which then created this lazy label. And that label also played into racial stereotypes about the Black member of a girl group only being there for the sake of diversity and not on her own merit. When relative to her time in formal training, she clearly had so much talent to work with. Not only that, but showing other future members like Lara and Sophia being frustrated with Manon painted this picture that these girls didn't get along in the present, despite them all coming to a resolution in the documentary. Once again, the documentary aired 2 full years after that footage. People could not comprehend that their dynamic had changed, that they had spent 2 more years training with just the 6 of them, and obviously were not the same 6 people that they were in a very stressful competition.
So how do you feel when parts of the show are brought back up into current day discourse?
Cheers. I think that
Cheers.
cheers to that.
Toast to that, guys.
And also,
Definitely grown a lot from that, yeah.
we truly have grown a lot, and a lot has happened ever since the documentary came out and a competition happened. Just like what we were saying the moment it came out, that the documentary truly is a glimpse of all the months and the years that we've spent in this project. And so the fans are only given so much.
From the beginning, people got the impression that Manon was in some way at odds with the rest of the girls. Things that might seem small in a vortex or without the context of this fan space seem much bigger when you see it accumulating over the years. When Manon is absent from performances, the reaction to that is so visceral in a way that it simply is not when other members are absent, even if it is explicitly due to illness or injury, which of course would be beyond Manon's control.
I'm sick. I woke up this morning and I felt like I was run over by a train. Everything hurts. And I'm just gonna hope that by tomorrow morning I feel a lot better, because we have a show tomorrow. And then we're flying back to LA tomorrow night. Quite literally cannot be sick right now. Like, doesn't matter how bad I feel. I need to push it through this, because there's just too much happening. I'm just gonna pray that tomorrow will be better, and that this is just a little one day cold that will go away.
Like, for example, when Manon had COVID and fainted in the airport, so she missed 1 performance and then came back the next day. There just isn't that same outrage when Megan is absent from a photo shoot or Daniela is absent from a performance video. Her absence from promotional materials is a whole other thing in itself. This has been a thing I've noticed with their TikTok for a while, and a lot of other people have too, that Manon is not featured nearly as often as the other women in things like dance covers or collaborations with other K-pop groups. And to an extent that makes sense, because she is not the main or lead dancer like Danny or Megan. But I do remember there being a lot of discourse about this one day where they collabed with Cordis, which is another Hybe group. And there's this one vlog you can see on Cordis's channel where Manon is literally in the corner dancing in the background, and she just wasn't asked to be in the video. She wants to participate, but consistently she is the one absent from these dance collaborations. When they did a brand deal with Glossier, the group posed underneath their billboard. Manon was not there for that photo to be taken, and in true Mike Wazowski form, Manon's head on the billboard was the only one cut off by the angle of the photo. When the girls did their Monster High collab, they each had individual pictures taken that were posted online, but initially only 5 were published before they eventually also published Manon's. When they were each given custom Monster High dolls, Manon can be seen in the wide shot reacting to it, but she is noticeably absent from the rest of the video, which includes all of the other 5 members talking about their own dolls. And when I'm listing these examples, I don't necessarily think that the executives at Hybe and Geffen were like, we're gonna not attach Manon's photo on this email. That'll show her, right? I don't think these things have to be conscious, and I think a lot of them are accidents. I don't think that they maniacally planned for Yoonchae to block Manon's head with the angle, right? But just because it's not conscious and cartoonishly evil doesn't mean that it doesn't have an impact, and it does maybe speak to a lack of care. Generally, a lack of care isn't great, but when it's only impacting one person and then the fans are having such a big response to that, it's easy for me to say, oh, these are all coincidences, these were unfortunate, but I'm not the one living in that environment. I'm not the one seeing the fan discourse, and this is one of those things where it's truly just Manon that this is happening to. These things not being a conscious choice doesn't mean that it has no harm or has no impact, right? And if it is a conscious choice, I think we have bigger problems. fans see that it's only one person that this kind of stuff happens to, it looks like a pattern. And again, they feel like they have to protect this person because it doesn't seem like the company is making that effort. At that time, there was a huge campaign for Manon to leave the group, to which she responded to.
Wow. Hey, people.
It's noticeable that the onus was on her to respond to this and not the company itself. Not even their holiday season's greeting collection was safe. In one of the quizzes they did for each member, for Manon, they wrote, what does Manon think is her best feature? Her laziness, her selfishness, her quiet nature, or her sense of humor? I wonder. Microaggressions through a limited edition Christmas quiz is just like another level, no? So, of course, when people saw this hiatus and saw Manon's likes on Instagram, there was a natural assumption that this hiatus was an extension of othering Manon, which people had been seeing for months. But even without Manon, Katseye's relentless schedule must go on. They performed at all of the South American Lollapaloozas, and Sophia actually did shout out Manon in that first performance, which is one of only 2 times the girls themselves have referenced her since the hiatus.
Buenos Aires! Thank you so much for having us. And let's give it up for Manon!
The choreography and line distribution was also reworked to accommodate only 5 members, which was done in a very short time frame. I'm sure that wasn't easy for the other 5 girls to adjust to either. Like I said, Katseye did their Lollapalooza sets shortly after they just got done with their own tour and then going on to do Coachella right afterwards. And they just now released a behind the scenes look at what the girls were going through. Mind you, this was uploaded by Katseye, right? So it's going to be filtered to look as beneficial to the group as possible. But even through that lens, you just see these young women. Yoonjae's 18, the others are in their early 20s, exhausted, injured, traveling constantly.
I feel like I'm about to, like even on stage, I have no energy, like the entire show. I'm so tired. I got to sleep 2 hours total, but it's okay.
I was like fatigued. I thought I was gonna throw up when they pulled me up.
You know what I was thinking? I was like fainting almost the whole time.
This is the environment, mind you, that Manon was called lazy for not participating in. It's just so sad to watch because these women have been with Hybex Geffen since their teens, and so I don't think they have the outside context to realize just how insane and unfair their promotion cycle is. To be honest, I don't even think it's to their benefit a lot of the time because I'm not just talking about Lollapalooza, obviously that's a big platform for them to go on, but between each EP that only has 5 songs, each festival that they do 5 in a row, each 2-minute song that they release really quickly, and then the 10 million ads that they do in between, this is just overexposing them on top of injuring them and sleep depriving them. At this point, am I more sad that Manon isn't there? Or is it more sad that these women are so locked into this with who knows how much agency? I don't think many people seriously thought that Manon would have come back for Lollapalooza. Like they wouldn't have announced a hiatus if she was just going to be gone for 3 weeks. But that led to people, including myself, focusing on Coachella. Just with how much Manon talked about Coachella in the past, I imagine that if she wanted to get back with the group, and if Hybe wanted her to get back with the group, they'd do anything to make that happen. Not only would it be great for Manon, but it would also look way better if the group was reunited on their biggest North American stage to date. And what would the group be performing? They teased at the end of their tour that new music was coming right around Coachella, which as of late, every new Katseye teaser has felt like a threat. But maybe this would finally be the quality, vocal-heavy, unique to them song we'd all been dreaming of. Or a Sophie and Brooke Candy meme song from a decade ago.
Ooh. I got it from my mama. The dress I'm in designer. My hair tied up bandana. I'm hungry for banana.
You know, some things work for Sophie and Brooke Candy that do not translate to a corporate-made girl group. The more likely option for the next release was another Justin Tranter demo, Pinky Up. Justin Tranter is such an interesting writer to me because he has co-written some of the most iconic songs in pop, but he has also written the most meaningless, empty Katseye songs to date. Unlike some of his other songs, which were shown to multiple artists before Katseye got it, it seems Pinky Up was made with Katseye in mind, although the girls themselves did not have writing or producing credits. The demo of Pinky Up released online, and not just that, the storyboard of the music video, the choreography, which featured Manon, and best part, the planned True Fru collaboration. No one has even considered how hard it has been for True Fru throughout all of this. There were a lot of insider leaks on Reddit about what this whole hiatus was about, each saying drastically different things, but my favorite was someone saying that True Fru had pulled out of their Katseye brand deal because of this controversy. Thank God that was a lie, because I don't know what I would have done without that very subtle brand integration.
Welcome to Truth or Crunch. Answer a question or take a bite of True Fruit.
People also noted that the leaked choreography with Manon wasn't just Manon, it was Manon dancing with Danny, which gave people hope. It really was them against the world shaking ass in the parking lot. What if this is all an elaborate marketing ploy in which HG baits not only the fall of Danny and Manon, but allegations of racial mistreatment and the horrible possibility that True Fru has pulled out? This is conformity gay John Locke for tween girls everywhere. This isn't a real demo. This isn't a real hiatus. She just updated her Instagram highlights to include pictures of France. We batshit wee. It's all coming together. She's gonna be in that music video. And at Coachella, Manon is gonna descend from the rafters like Pink as MIA starts playing. The crowd goes crazy. HG played us all for fools. The perfect crime.
I bet it goes like this.
Yeah, so she wasn't in the teaser. Any of the teasers? Scenes from the storyboard we saw where Danny and Manon were both there clearly in that teaser showed Danny standing by herself. Just moments after that first teaser dropped, Manon removed Katseye from her Instagram bio. Is this what living through the Cuban Missile Crisis felt like? She also, in a surprise move, posted another message on Weverse which said, "Thank you so much for all the love and support you've been sending my way. I've been grateful for the patience and kindness everyone has shown during this time. HG and I are having positive conversations and I feel supported. I'm happy, I'm healthy, and I'll share more soon. Thank you for always being there for me." I'll tell you what, they are really committed to this marketing strategy because that statement really does seem like she's in contract negotiations to leave the group on good terms. But just wait. This is the ultimate prank. Yeah, she wasn't in Pinky Up. In fairness, that song was only 2 minutes long, so like there's only so many lines she could have gotten to begin with. But this was the first time a member has been absent, not just from a music video, but the official studio track as well. Absences in performance videos or lyric videos make a little bit more sense because they're not the main selling point of the song, and also for performance videos, it's focused on the choreography, so it doesn't necessarily make sense to fit someone who's just standing there. It's also expensive to hire a crew, then delay filming to a totally different day, so it's usually just easier to take the person who's injured out. That being said, in a full music video, there's a lot more creative ways to work around this. Even if someone has limited availability, it's pretty easy to incorporate someone separate from the rest of the group, but visually still have it make sense. You actually see this a lot in K-pop music videos where a member is injured or they had a different touring schedule, so they do solo shots in the studio. Katseye did this themselves when Lara was injured for the Game Boy music video. Not only that, Manon posted herself in the recording studio at the end of January. She teased Pinky Up on Jimmy Fallon with the rest of the group. It is very possible that a version of the song was recorded with Manon in it. Pinky Up lost media. The absence is so noticeable, especially because the choreography was made to be performed in pairs, and without Manon, Danny just kind of looks like the leader with 4 background dancers because her duo scenes were all changed to solo scenes. It is hard to gauge what the public reaction would have been to this song without this hiatus drama. I know, and I'm so sorry to say I stand on an island of my own, but I actually do kind of like Pinky Up. It's the Meet Her at the Lover Parade sample. It's really doing a lot of heavy lifting, but it's lifting nonetheless. I'm sorry. The lyrics, the quality of the production as a whole, like I understand that it's not good. I've seen some people who also like the song saying that it's actually really deep because the lyrics nod to defying social norms and class expectations because, you know, instead of putting their pinky up at tea parties, they're shaking ass in the parking lot. And the song mentions Socrates. Just because something alludes to consumerism or Socrates doesn't mean that it's deep or it's good. Like, just look at any of my videos. You can just enjoy a song even though it's not technically good. Katseye's music is so strange for me because it's music I absolutely consume as a package. I don't know if I would have listened to most of their songs if I just heard it from a random artist. Katseye is to my music taste like reality television is to my TV taste. And I know this really sounds like I'm insulting them or I don't like them. I like it. Not everything has to be high art for it to be fun and enjoyable. I think this may be an unpopular opinion, I'm sorry. I don't mind the idea of them being a weird hyperpop girl group. Girl Set already does girl group R&B so well, so it's cool to see something different. With the exception of Gnarly, they've never really struck that right balance of weird because they are so corporate at the end of the day. I genuinely think that Gnarly is a good song, not ironically or anything, but I also just like it because the original writer of that song is Alice Long Yu Gao, and I like Alice Long Yu Gao. She makes weird stuff because that's who she is and it works. There is definitely a lot left in translation in Gnarly from an alt Chinese artist who made a song about how when learning English, the word gnarly was weird to her because it meant good things, bad things, Tesla, fried chicken, everything. When Katseye is performing that same song, you don't have that context, so it just sounds like a bunch of buzzwords thrown together. But it is buzzwords thrown together on a crazy beat, no? Justin Tranter cannot capture the energy of Alice Long Yu Gao. Instead, we get Internet Girl, which is just a word salad of internet slang and vegetables set to the beat of a Cut for Time Camp Rock 2 track. The continuation of nonsensical, almost rage bait music without it coming from anywhere besides trying to recapture virality feels so revealing of the vision or lack thereof when it comes to Katseye, and Pinky Up is just the ultimate outcome of that. With every 2-minute XD so random release, it does feel more and more like this corporation was just testing how low effort they can go with this group and still be successful. I'm sorry to say, but Pinky Up outstreamed Internet Girl, so the bar can in fact go lower. And you know, maybe Manon was sick of that. I think that's fair. Editing me coming back in on April 30th, which all of the blind items have been saying that today is D-Day. So stressed already, but I wasn't lying when I told you that something new and crazy happens every single day. And now Trisha Paytas is in the mix. Maybe a week ago, Oscar, the co-host on Trisha's podcast, mentioned that he had talked to this guy, Harry Daniels, who you may know, he's kind of famous for singing at celebrities.
But it was fun. It was a good time. Oh my gosh. Wow.
And he gave us so much tea too. We can't even repeat it, I guess. But finding out the Katseye tea with Manon, I feel like so relieved. Now I'm in the know. So now
that was crazy.
Oscar didn't say anything specific, but from the way he phrased it, people thought that this was confirmation that Manon was coming back. A few days later, he came back to clarify.
Icons, I'm sorry, I'm giving an apology 2 hours in. I said I was relieved to be in the know because it's been keeping me up at night. It's been plaguing me. Some girls have been reading into it because they know I love her. And they're like, oh, he's relieved. So this is good news that she's going to come back. I don't know. She's going to come back. I don't know the fate. Harry doesn't even know that tea.
No, she's not coming back. What we know from Harry.
No, what Harry didn't know
the way you framed it was like, she is out.
So people went from thinking Oscar was confirming Manon's comeback to thinking Trisha Paytas, of all people, was confirming that Manon was out. I think people automatically made the assumption that Harry Daniels knew this information from Megan and Lara because those were the two who followed him on Instagram at the time. I don't think they had publicly posted each other hanging out together to this point, besides the times that he showed up and sang at her. Harry is launching his own podcast, and what better way to launch your own podcast than to imply that you know this big old secret?
Because I got in a huge fallout with all my friends, and then I was like, Oscar knows all about this.
Oh, that's why you guys know so much. You guys talk in the DMs. There's so many inside things.
You and Manon can talk about it another
I love
day.
her. I saw her at Coachella last weekend. Oh. I love her. She's like the sweetest
Did you talk
person.
to her?
Yeah, she's really sweet.
How's she doing? Amazing?
She's doing good.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like, she was sad that she couldn't perform with the girls, which is like understandable.
Could not or did not want
Did
to?
not or could not. I don't really know. I never asked that many questions.
Yeah.
It is important to note that Harry, to this point, has only ever said that he spoke to Manon and that she was sad she couldn't go to Coachella, which I think is something we all knew. To me, when I was watching these clips, I didn't think it was worth including at the time because, I don't know, this just seems like some LA influencer trying to launch their podcast. Nothing of substance is being said here. And if I were in Katseye and I followed this guy who was sort of baiting stuff that's going on in my own life, yeah, I would unfollow that guy. So Megan unfollows him, and Harry responds by making an Instagram post set to Girl So Confusing by Charlie XCX, where he tags not only Megan's public account, but her spam account that he was following. And and includes slides of pictures and videos of them hanging out. Now, this is not my investigating. This is the investigative work of the Katseye Twitter community. People were able to piece together the timeline of when these photos were taken because of Megan's hair color and length and nails, and noted that one of the pictures that Megan posted was previously publicly available, and two, pretty much every picture and video you're seeing here is around the time of September to October of 2025, which was around the time that he first sang to her in public. Other people think that Megan and Laura, because Megan and Laura, I guess, are just best friends. Laura, I don't know how Laura is getting dragged into this, to be quite honest. But some people think that Megan and Laura were gossiping about their situation to Harry, which then results in Harry teasing it on the internet. And, you know, it's devastating because can you believe that these girls would violate an NDA? I mean, what has this world come to? I don't know. Honestly, I have such a hard time being scandalized by this because I don't think we have any more information than when we started. I feel like a lot of people are just kind of assuming the worst and most traumatic version. And maybe this isn't worth stressing about to the extent that people are. That being said, though, the solo Katseye stans have really been at it these past 24 hours because you've got the Megan solo stans threatening to leak Harry's address, of course. Yes, violating an NDA is legally wrong, and it is definitely dumb and naive for any of them to speak to influencers in LA about their situation, if that is something that they did.
He's telling everyone. Tana's like, he told me they were in a corner at Justin Horowitz's birthday party.
But also, this is a situation that has been impacting their lives for 2 months, and they haven't been able to really say anything publicly. So I think a situation like this would just be kind of inevitable. Like, you really think that they're not talking to their friends about what's going on? I also feel like people are just kind of forgetting the context that Harry Daniels, a large part of his shtick is just being a troll. What's more strange to me, honestly, is that right after the controversy with Daniela's dad was happening, Katseye posted solo videos of Danny to their main account, and obviously the comments were vile in that. And they just now, after Megan is getting her spot blown up on the internet, posted a solo Megan video again right after. That's the part that really feels weird to me. But maybe Katseye's music is supposed to be bad right now, and the real good music will of course come when Manon comes back to the group later, because right now Hybe has another girl group. On top of Conformity Gate, another more convoluted conspiracy theory emerged, the Prelude conspiracy. This makes even less sense than the last one, but this does give me a chance to talk about Prelude, the final piece, so I'm gonna take it. Last year, Hybe announced that they were making yet another global girl group with other former contestants from the Dream Academy survival show, Lexi, Emily, and Samara. Initially, people's reaction when they saw this move felt it was strange to be announcing a new group that would debut only 2 years after Katseye. America already has like 4 girl groups. They're oversaturating the market already. If you follow K-pop survival shows or the K-pop industry generally, this is pretty common. Survival shows may only produce one group at the end of the day, but the show is also just a scouting opportunity for other later projects. Dream Academy, especially having had a 2-year training period attached to that survival show, of course they're going to scout from that group. They spent millions training these girls, so of course they're going to recruit them instead of other people to save money. Audiences are also familiar with them, like it just makes sense to make another girl group with the runner-ups of Dream Academy. But another common talking point I heard back when this was announced was that what if Katseye was the guinea pig group who would be eventually set aside in favor of this group to succeed? Which that would be quite the plan, considering the 6 members of Katseye just were the combination of the most popular amongst fans and the most popular amongst the judges. That would be the test group in this scenario, not the runner-ups. But this new conspiracy is that once again, the Katseye hiatus is a marketing ploy. It's supposed to make Katseye look bad. We're supposed to be mad at them right now. And the music is supposed to be bad. Our pinkies are supposed to be down. We're looking for a new girl group to stan. Prelude. These girls. This group debuts. Crowd goes crazy. Then Manon comes back. We all forget all of this ever happened. And Hybe executives sit atop the tallest tower and cackle at their own thievery and manipulation. I do think that happens on a daily basis. The thing is, though, despite the Prelude group again being a global girl group, which primarily, presumably, is going to have an audience in the West, it has been damn near impossible for Americans to follow this group. And trust me, I've been trying. Prelude is not the official name. It's actually the name of the survival show, because there's another survival show. Emily, Samara, and Lexi are guaranteed members of this group, but they are scouting one more member to compete and debut from Japan. The final piece. The 2 finalists performed with the other 3 in LA, and the final piece is going to be announced within weeks of me making this. I really hope it's Ayana, but I Girl, I don't know. But the thing is, unless you are in Japan, they do not want you to watch this show. This show airs on Abema, which is a Japanese-only program. The episodes come out each Tuesday with no English subtitles, so using a VPN alone isn't an option unless you're fluent in Japanese. You can't use the auto captions either because many people on the show also speak in Korean, and the YouTube AI can barely handle one language. So then you have to wait until Wednesday for fans to translate captions. Once they post it, you need to immediately clear your schedule, stop what you're doing, because within hours of that translation going up, Abema will copyright strike all of it to oblivion. I am not going to show clips from this show because you simply will never see me again if I do. I assume that they're making another Netflix documentary that we'll see eventually, but it is so strange. Like, Dream Academy was also eventually turned into a documentary, but people anywhere could still watch the survival show in real time. It's like really hard to try and be a fan of this group right now. Honestly though, it's a good thing that they're not letting most people watch it because this show has been so strange, so infuriating. Without getting too tangential, this show started with a ranking system. They showed us these incredible women who could both sing and dance and ranked them on their ability to do so. Then they immediately eliminated the top 2 girls. They made them the top 2 based on their own criteria, and then they sent them home. Seems like their ranking system needs some work. Out of 12 girls, only 4 could go to LA. They picked the 11th and 12th place girls to go. Hiyori, who ranked 2nd and made it to the top 4, dropped out for health reasons. Ayana, who ranked 5th going into the finals, is the only one even remotely comparable to Emily, Samara, and Lexi, as far as it seems to me watching the show. It is so painful to watch though because there is this sweet 15-year-old girl named Sakura who has no dance or singing training up until this point and is now in the top 4 despite her skills being so far behind everyone else's. Also, the fact that she's 15, significantly younger than most of the other contestants, and the other 3 girls, Emily, Samara, and Lexi, who are all adult women, like the idea of her ending up in the final lineup does just seem strange. But in some ways, it's exactly like the Manon situation where the judges see star quality, potential, and know that they can eventually train her to get to the point she needs to be. Except we're not really seeing that in this survival show. Clips of her dancing and singing are short and so oddly edited. In one episode, they show Sakura, Aoi, and Ayana singing and dancing the song that they need for the finale. They show Aoi singing and dancing it. They show Ayana singing and dancing. For Sakura, they cut the camera out to Aoi in the hallway, and you can only hear Sakura singing under Aoi speaking loudly, and you cannot see her dancing at all. Sakura really does seem like a sweet girl. She was the only one genuinely excited when they were told that they were actually going to get a full other month of training because she actually wants to learn. But the show just hasn't shown audiences her potential that the judges see, which I think really comes down to some bad editing. The way the show is edited, we see these insanely talented, well-trained girls one after another get eliminated. And then we see Sakura, who cannot stress this enough, is a child, right? But the format of a survival show specifically is the chance to show off a member that in all likelihood they pre-picked from the beginning and to make you root for her and see how well she's doing. It's meant to be impressive watching the eventual winner beat other girls in the competition, and it creates a parasocial relationship before that group is finalized. But in this situation, we have a 15-year-old being compared to grown adults who have competed on other survival shows and fully been in other girl groups before. Like, of course, it's not comparable. Even if she doesn't go on to win, her making it into the top 4 makes a lot of people question the thought process in how this competition works. And ultimately, these contestants are paying the price for that. Final Prelude member is going to be announced like 6 days after I upload this. So there are going to be a lot of comments coming back here in hindsight to tell me how I was wrong and foolish for not predicting the future. But I will say that by episode 10, they have finally begun showing Sakura dancing and singing, and she's doing really well. Like I said, the problem was never Sakura herself. My opinion still stands that she is a very sweet young girl and she seems very trainable, and I'm sure she's going to go on to have a great career in some capacity, whether it ends up being with this group or with another group eventually. She is still, I do need to emphasize, going to be 16 years old at the time of the announcement, whereas the rest of the girls competing and also the girls in the final lineup are in their 20s. And while Sakura has improved significantly since when we first saw her on the show, that doesn't erase the past 10 weeks where she has been harassed nonstop, and there have been so many negative comments about her throughout the process. And I think a lot of people have soured on her through no fault of her own, just because they saw people who were already at this level that Sakura is now reaching getting eliminated over her. It truly is not a contestant issue, it is an editing issue. issue and it is a presentation issue on Hive's part that is really hurting these girls' longevity and popularity even before they debut. One thing though that has been really interesting about the Prelude show as it relates to Katseye are the demos. Lexi's official role in the group is producer and songwriter, which is something that people have wanted Katseye to have this entire time, given that both Lara and Megan have released snippets of their own music that they've produced. Not only is Lexi immediately being shown as an active creative participant, they also actually got half-decent R&B demos, which is the exact sound people originally wanted for Katseye. One of these demos was written by Paris Alexa. The other, fun fact, was written by Belle from Kiss of Life, who did the infamous hip-hop themed live stream last year.
What's your name? Little Taco Bell. Little Taco Bell.
It's still K-pop R&B at the end of the day. It kind of feels like HG saw the feedback for Katseye and decided that they'd stick to the slop because it works well enough, but instead they would send the branding fans wanted to this other group. That way they could have it both ways and double their profits. And it works too. Like, I'm still interested in both of these groups, not because of the company, but because I just want these women to succeed and see that they are talented. I always knew that part of making a global girl group was also making a brand, an image that could be sold to as many brands for young girls as possible. It's just unfortunate that that goal has so clearly outpaced the artistry and ultimately the well-being of all of them. They may be the faces we see, but don't forget that these girls are very low on the totem power of influence here. In many ways, they are dealing with the cards that they've been dealt with, which by extension, of course, impacts the group's overall perception. I so want to just like Katseye and it not feel uncomplicated, but it doesn't feel that way anymore. I also think it's impossible to talk about Manon's hiatus without talking about the impact this not only has on their global girl group image, but on their Black fans specifically. One of the posts Manon liked just around her hiatus announcement was this video by Simone Umba.
Why is it that whenever we have a sole Black girl in a girl group, she is the victim and the most suffering? Specifically in the case of Manon, her being biracial, she's half Swiss, half Ghanaian. Many people are trying to dictate her Black identity and whether or not she is actual representation for young Black girls. Imagine you are the only Black girl in your group. You have half of the internet berating you, calling you lazy, calling you difficult, saying that you're not giving your equal weight to the group. And then you have the other half of the internet trying to dictate whether or not you are part of the community that you were born into. This is a recurring pattern we've seen for Black girls who are the sole Black girl in the group. We saw it with Fifth Harmony and Normani. We saw it with Little Mix and Lee. Now we have it with Manon and Katseye.
Annabelle Iwegbu wrote about how Manon's position as the visual, the face of the group, felt like such a change from the treatment of Normani and Leanne. It was mind-blowing to see that in Katseye's case, the Black girl was gearing up to be the front-facing representative. To have this admittedly problematic role designated to the sole Black girl felt like a turning point for what it meant to be the only one. And I can only imagine how frustrating it would be for Manon to be the face of this group and still fall into the mistreatments that Black women in the pop industry see every single day. Because having Manon as the face of the group didn't erase the small ways she's been repeatedly sidelined, not just by the label, but the fandom. The reaction of some fans has really confirmed what a lot of people already knew, that there is a large sect of this online fandom that goes to racism and ableism very quickly, which again makes it not fun to engage with Katseye. Still, there are so many reasons as to why this hiatus could be happening, and not knowing that we're probably never gonna know, is so hard. It's hard to root for Manon to come back to this group when so much of the fan base has so much vitriol for her, or in turn for the other women in the group. And if the label is mistreating her, that feeling of course increases tenfold. I don't think anyone signed up to see these girls be unhappy. And more it feels like all of these women, but Manon especially, are just better off without the group that they're confined to. As I'm writing this video, Katseye just announced their new EP, Wild, which is set to release in August. In the pre-order listing, it says that there are only 5 photo cards instead of the usual 6. Manon also attended Coachella but was not seen with the other girls, and in fact was seemingly not there to watch the 5 perform. To me, that was just further confirmation that she was exiting as soon as her remaining brand collaborations were done. They did announce a new, way overpriced Gap collection that included a Manon design, but again, presumably that was something in the works prior to the hiatus, because then a few hours later, Manon posted to Weverse saying that she loved and missed everyone. Nothing about the way that this has been handled feels normal. And it really is to the point that if by some miracle she returned, it's never going to feel the same. Some people have said that this is the end of Katseye, and I do think that were Manon to leave, a large portion of that fan base would go with her. Certainly for me, this whole thing has made Katseye feel way less fun to follow, because this isn't just a music group, it's a sisterhood, it's an image, and without Manon, that image becomes much more artificial than putting 6 strangers in a girl group already was. That being said, though, the 5 remaining girls are powerhouses. That Coachella set was packed full of people, and they gave an insane performance. It's also very much true that all press is good press, because Pinky Up still reached the top 10 on the US Spotify charts. Combine that with normal people who don't follow every Instagram unfollow or deleted comment, I'm sure that Katseye itself is not over. But it's true that it'll never feel the way it did when I first saw them at KCON. Just talented girls that people didn't know enough about to hate as much as some people do now. And we're never gonna know what happened. Not until their NDAs expire and we get a tell-all memoir on the Call Her Daddy press circuit in 20 years. I cannot wait for some other crazy thing to happen with this, like maybe they'll officially announce her status in a few days, and so everyone's gonna come to this video and tell me that it's immediately outdated. I know it's going to be. Absolutely it's going to be, but I had to talk about it regardless because I've been thinking about this like every day since she went on hiatus. So I hope you found this interesting. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you want to see more from me, I stream on Twitch a few times a week, upload the VODs of that to my gaming channel. I have a spam channel where I occasionally upload like my vinyl collection and fun stuff like that. Patreon. I also have a Patreon where I post monthly bonus videos. You know, the fun YouTuber thing of having like 6 fucking channels. If you're not interested in any of that, that's fair. Like it's too much. I understand. But if you liked this video, you could feel free to like, follow, subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.